All right, so in section 417, this is the final section for this semester. I think it's the actual final section in the chapter. We're going to be finding all the roots of a polynomial given one root. In other words, they're going to give us a solution to the polynomial, and they're going to say find the rest of the solutions, right? You'll notice the instructions say find all the zeros given 1 0, right? So they mentioned roots at the very top, zeros in the instruction. I just said solutions. Remember, all those words mean the same thing. Okay, they're just saying solve. All right. Now, initially, the way you find, the way you start trying to find the rest of your answers, you're going to start off with synthetic division. Okay. So we're going to create that little half box. Okay. Now, just a real quick reminder. You remember in yesterday's homework, it always would say like divided by, let's say like x plus 2. So in that little half box, you would put a minus 2, right? So it always looked like in a little parenthesis, you would have to use the opposite sign. Notice how in this lesson, they don't have anything in a parenthesis, right? They want us to use that -3 exactly the way it's given. So I'm going to put -3 right there. I'm not going to change its sign. You only change its sign if it's in a parenthesis and it says like x plus 2, then you use -2. If it's in a parenthesis and they put like x minus 1, then you put a positive 1. This is not in a parenthesis, so use the exact number they're giving you. Okay? Now, the nice thing about these problems is you'll know whether you're doing this right or wrong. Okay? And I'll show you how you'll know that. But let me write down my coefficients of 1, -4, -11, and 30. And we're going to add and multiply. Remember, our first step is to drop down the very first coefficient. So for us, it's a number 1. And then you're supposed to multiply, right? -3 times 1, that's -3. And then you add those numbers. So -4 plus -3 is a -7. And then you'll multiply -3 times -7 is a 21. And then you add -11 plus 21. That's going to be a 10. And then -3 times 10 is -30. And when you add those two numbers, you get a remainder of 0. If you get a remainder of 0, then you know you're doing it right. Okay? Because if they tell you that -3 is a solution. So if they tell you if any number is a solution and you do synthetic division, if it's really a solution, your remainder should be 0. Okay? If your remainder comes out to anything other than a 0, then you did something wrong. Now, in this type of problem. Okay? So don't say, well, wait a minute. Yesterday, I got tons of remainders. Well, you should have, because none of those were solutions that you were doing. You were actually just doing the process. Today, they're saying, we're giving you an answer, plug in the answer, see what happens. That's actually called the remainder theorem, what they're making you do. But we're plugging it in, we're doing synthetic division, and it becomes 0. That's what I'm expecting to happen. That's what you should expect to happen for every problem that you do today. Okay? If it doesn't happen, something's wrong. Okay? You'll see it's going to happen with me in every example. So again, very important that this comes out to 0. If it does, you know you're on the right track. Now let me write my answer here. Since I started with an x cubed, then I'm going to write x squared minus 7x plus 10. So once you have your remainder of 0, what you're going to do is you're going to write your answer, x squared minus 7x plus 10, and you're going to figure out the solutions for that by factoring. Okay, so we're going to set this equal to 0, and we're going to factor it using the x method. Now, it should be easy to do the x method for these problems, thank goodness. Okay, it's not going to be anything weird where you got to divide at the end or anything like that. It's going to be nice, clean factoring. So remember, this is your a term, your b term, and your c term. At the top of your x, for your x method, it's a times c. That's 10. On the bottom, it's b, so that's -7. What two numbers multiply to 10 add up to -7? All right, -2 and -5. So I'm going to write those down. x minus 2, x minus 5 equals 0. And now you're just going to have to solve them. Okay? So remember, you make these little mini problems. X minus 2 equals 0. X minus 5 equals 0. So what do I get for the first one if I solve it, for the x minus 2 one? 2. What about the second one? A 5. Okay? Notice I now have 3 answers. Okay? X is 2, 5, and what was my third answer? Not 0. Negative 3, right? They tell me in the very beginning, negative 3 is one of my solutions. So I'm going to put that down here. And there we go. As usual, I prefer that you write the answers in numerical order. So negative 3, 2, 5 would be best. But it's not incorrect if you don't do it that way. Okay? So if you don't do it that way, it's fine. Just make sure you mention all 3. Okay? Now you'll notice B is not there. I erased it because I realized, wow, I should have picked a different one. So I'm going to do a different problem for you guys than the other class did. So here it goes. Here's part B. F of x is equal to x cubed minus x squared minus 34x minus 66. And they're saying that an answer is negative 3. All right, so they gave me that polynomial, and they said negative 3 is a solution. So I'm going to do synthetic division again, right? So let me put this here. It's going to be a negative 3. Remember, use the number that's given. Don't change its sign. And write your coefficients. So 1, negative 2, negative 34, negative 66. You're going to add and multiply. Remember, you're dropping the 1, okay? Dropping that 1. A what? Negative 1 instead of negative 2. Oh, yeah, thank you. I don't know why. Oh, well, it's probably the power. I got it. Thank you for that. I think I saw the power, and I saw negative and then 2, so I put negative 2. Thank you for that. Let me just fix this up here. So if we drop the 1, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Okay, so you can write that negative 3 up on top. Negative 1 plus negative 3 is negative 4. Okay, negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. Negative 34 plus 12 is a negative 22. And a negative 3 times negative 22 is a 66. And negative 66 plus 66 is a 0. Again, I should not be surprised that my solution at the very end, my remainder, is a 0. That's what's supposed to happen. If I would have gotten a 3, then I'd have to double check everything. So a perfect example would have been if you guys would have not stopped me with the negative 1 and I would have done negative 2, I bet you my remainder would have not been the same, and then I would have said, what happened? And then you'd say you wrote the wrong number, right? Because that's how I know something went wrong, if my remainder is not a 0. Okay? So far I know one answer, negative 3. Negative 3 is an answer. I can verify that by a remainder of 0, but I got to find the other 2. So here we go. 1x squared minus 4x minus 22. So x squared minus 4x minus 22 equals 0. Now, if I try the x method, I'm going to do it over here on the side because I know it's not going to work. But if I tried the x method, on top I would get negative 22. On the bottom, I would get a negative 4. The only way you can factor a 22 is 1 times 22, which would not give me a negative 4 at all, or 2 times 11, which would also not give me a negative 4. In other words, I can't use this. This is not good. I can't do that. So I got to find another way. Well, that's where we use that formula back there, the quadratic formula. We did examples on this, or not examples. We did homework on this a while back. you're going to use this formula. Okay, I'm going to write it over here to the right side. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And you're going to use that to find your other missing solutions. Okay? Because you can't use the x method, unfortunately. All right? If you are able to use the x method, it should be easy. If you're not able to use the x method, then you're going to use this formula. Remember, this is your a, your b, and your c. So let me go ahead and plug in the information that I have. So x is equal to negative of a b, which is negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared, that's negative 4 squared, minus 4 times a times c, which is negative 22, divided by, that would be 2 times a, which would be 2 times 1. Remember, be very careful when you're plugging in your numbers, because any little mix-up and your answers are going to be all messed up. Okay? So, all right. X is equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 88. That's right? Yeah, 88, yeah. So 88, and it's going to be positive, over 2. So x is equal to 4 plus or minus 88 plus 16, that's going to be 104 over 2. Let me just check something. I'm just curious to see if there's a nice value for that, or if that's basically where you're going to stop. Where is my... Just trying to pull up my calculator here. So square root of 184, 2 and 26. Oh, you mean 2 radical 26. So yeah, 4 does divide it. So if you put it into your calculator, you're going to get x equal to 4 plus or minus 2 radical 26 over 2. All right, now I can reduce that, right? Because if I'm dividing by 2, I notice that this number can be divided by 2, this number can be divided by 2, right? Along with that. So everything's going to be divided by 2 right there. So my answer is going to be x equal to 2 plus or minus square root of 26. All right, that's what I'm going to end up getting once I simplify. Notice that's 2 solutions. Right? That's 2 solutions. What was my third one? Negative 3. And I'm done. Okay, so 2 plus or minus radical 26 and negative 3. So that's a total of 3 answers. It's 2 plus radical 26, 2 minus radical 26, that's the second answer, and then negative 3. So 3 total answers. That's number 3. So number 3 and 4 will have stuff like this. I don't know about 5, but I know 6 won't. But I want to make sure I at least do one of those for you guys. Because I didn't do one for second period. I didn't even notice that they were going to make you do that. I thought they were just going to make you factor. Until one of my students asked me for help, and I'm like, you can't factor that one. So you're going to have to use a formula. So I told them I'd re-record it so they can check it out later. Any questions on this one? Again, we've done the homework on quadratic formulas before. It's been a while, but we did it before. Just take your time with it. A calculator is going to be very useful, okay? And if you don't have a nice calculator that can do that, you can go right onto Google and just put a scientific calculator. They should have one that can do that for you. Okay, you can use Google with that. Okay. All right, last example. Again, I'm trying to do half your homework, so we've done 2. This one will be a little faster because I don't have to use that formula. Okay? But there's a reason why I chose to do this example. Okay? It wasn't just because I picked a random one. I specifically picked this one for a reason. What is it missing? Yeah, it's missing x squared, right? And that's important. If it's missing something, you got to replace it with a what? A 0. Okay, even if you don't, then you messed up, right? So here we go. So good eye on that. So we're going to have a 5 there, okay? And then x cubed is a 1. My x squared is a 0. And then my x to the first is a negative 21. And then a negative 20. Again, you know if you did it right because you're going to get a remainder of 0 at the very end. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this synthetically. So drop the 1. 5 times 1 is 5. 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Negative 21 plus 25 is 4. 5 times 4 is 20. And negative 20 plus 20 is 0. Okay, again, as long as you see this, you know you're on the right track. Okay, if you see a 0 at the end, you're on the right track. So now let's write our answer, the thing that we got. So this is going to be 1x squared plus 5x plus 4. I'm going to write my answer below it. Set it equal to 0 because they want me to solve. Anytime they want you to solve, just set it equal to 0. Okay? And I can actually use the x method with this one. Okay? So a is 1, b is 5, c is 4. So a times c, that's 4. b is 5. What two numbers multiplied to 4 add up to 5? 1 and 4. All right, so here we go. I'm going to use those two. X plus 1, x plus 4 equals 0. And remember, write out your little small equations now. So x plus 1 equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. So what's my answer for the one on the left? Negative 1. What's my answer for the one on the right? Negative 4. Do I have 3 solutions? Well, negative 1, negative 4, and what was my last one? So I got negative 1, negative 4, and 5, right? 5 is up here. Okay? So negative 1, negative 4, and 5. Again, notice these are not in the right order, but it's okay. You're not going to get marked off. The only reason why we say to put them in the right order is because usually in the multiple choices, they're going to be in the right order. So if you want them to match perfectly, then write them from smallest to largest. So on a multiple choice test, you would see negative 4, negative 1, 5. Not negative 1. Did I say that right? You'll see a negative 4, negative 1, and 5. Not a negative 1, negative 4, and 5. Because that's not the right order. But it doesn't matter. They're the right answers. So there you go.